appreciation and respect for ourselves and for the people around us. And these are very positive attitudes to have. Contemplation of the devas, or celestial beings' virtues, that they have attained to a celestial state due to their good deeds. What is called mindfulness of death, which means the contemplation of the uncertainty of life, that things could end. So we should do the best that we can do right now. Mindfulness of the 32 body parts. This is also a monastic practice where you contemplate on all of the different parts of the body, from the hair on your head to the fingernails, teeth, skin, etc., as being basically subject to decay and loathsome, not beautiful things. And then there's mindfulness of breathing, of which there are various stages, beginning with the contemplation as the breath touches the nose and the upper lip, or the tracking of the breath coming in and out of the body, as well as what was called by the commentators the ultimate breath, where you're observing the natural rising and falling of the abdomen. Then we have what are called the 4 unlimited states, apamanya 4, or they're also called the 4 divine abidings. The meditation on loving kindness, the meditation on compassion, the meditation on sympathetic joy, and the meditation on equanimity. We have the perception of loathsomeness of food. A question that I have that we could all consider, and I'm a little crazy, so you can keep that in mind. How many, perhaps, of the young girls who have a kind of eating disorder might actually be having some old memory of a former meditation object? Like, ew, this food looks disgusting, I don't think I want to eat it. Well, just an idea. Anyway, we have the reflection of the 4 primary elements, which are the earth, water, air, and fire element, as well as the absorption in the 4 formless spheres. And those are enumerated as first, second, third, and fourth. These are 40 meditational devices that lead to the development of tranquility, or samatha. Out of these 40 devices, only the mindfulness of the 32 body parts, reflection on the 4 primary elements, and the 10 asubha, mindfulness of death, and mindfulness of breathing lead more easily to the development of vipassana, or insight. And so those access the 3 characteristics very quickly. What is called the 4 foundations of mindfulness lead directly to the development of insight. The 4 foundations of mindfulness include mindfulness of the 32 body parts, reflection on the 4 primary elements, the 10 asubha, mindfulness of death, and mindfulness of breathing in the foundation of mindfulness of the body, or kaya nupassana satipatthana. And so mindfulness is the method, it's the path that we use to get to what is called vipassana, or insight. And so if we look at the 2 kinds of bhavana, you have the development of calm and tranquil states, and then you have the development of insight. If you're reading the Pali Suttas, then you see very often these 2 words together, samatha and insight, or samatha vipassana, calm and insight. It's very common. If the monks or nuns or people weren't enjoying the fruits of calm, they were enjoying the fruits of insight. You see it woven through the teaching, samatha vipassana, samatha vipassana. They work together, they can work individually and then come together again, or we can follow the one path of samatha, which eventually leads to vipassana, or we can go a straight vipassana path, which at the top of the path requires great skill and concentration in order to eradicate the final defilements. And so vipassana, the question is, what is vipassana? Vipassana is a Pali word which means seeing clearly, or seeing into, or seeing through. It comes from the words vi, which means clearly, through, into, specially, plus passana, seeing. And so vipassana means seeing clearly, seeing specially, seeing through or into. We could also call it intuitive wisdom, intuitive knowledge. It's often translated, and I believe it's almost universally accepted translation, as insight, okay? Just so that we know that when you see the word vipassana, it should equal insight, generically speaking, or when you see insight, we hope it's a translation of the word vipassana. But vipassana, as according to Ajahn Tong and his teachers' teaching as I have received from them, and as I have seen in the Pali scriptures, means a special kind of seeing. It's not just like I'm seeing through a clean window, or I'm looking through a clear diamond of the clearest water. I'm seeing something clearly, even I'm seeing something intuitively. It means seeing very specially the true nature of reality. And in this case, it means the true nature of the physical and mental reality in which we live. It means the intuitive understanding of the true nature of all mental and physical reality, whether it's inner and outer. Vipassana means insight into the true nature of rupa, which is physical materiality or body, and nama, or mind and mentality. So rupa being the Pali word, nama also. Name and form, they're often translated. Nama equals name and rupa equals form. Or I call inert matter, rupa, it's like physical matter, and nama, or mental phenomena. Rupa, by definition, means everything which does not know. It's inert matter derived of the four great elements, earth, water, air, fire. Nama, by definition, means everything which does know. It means every kind of feeling, knowing, sensing, awareness. And so Vipassana is the insight into the true nature of the physical and the mental, that everything inside of us and in the world around us is constantly changing. It's anicca, or impermanent. Everything inside of us and in the world around us, because of this constant change, it's difficult, it's suffering, or dukkha. It's dissatisfactory. In American English, it's stressful, because the word suffering is too stressful to use. No, it's difficult or stressful. We don't want to go too deep with it. And it's non-self. We can't control it. It doesn't belong to us. We can't dictate or predict how phenomena may arise and cease. They are of their own nature, and we cannot be the overlord of various phenomena. And so the word anatta, or non-self, comes into use. These three characteristics of impermanent, suffering, and non-self, or anicca, dukkha, anatta, are the marks of insight knowledge. So true insight, or true vipassana, means that there is some aspect of the realization of impermanence, to some degree suffering, to some degree non-self, to some degree. Whether it's on a conventional or mundane level, or whether it's on a transformative and liberating or supramundane level. Vipassana is the direct realization of the true nature of nama and rupa, or mind and body. All conditions, whether internal or external, mental or material, are impermanent, suffering, and non-self. Anicca, dukkha, anatta. The meditator who develops insight knowledge, or vipassana jnana, will realize that everything inside of oneself and in the world around oneself is constantly changing. It's uncertain or impermanent. It's stressful, unsatisfactory, or dissatisfactory, or suffering, and is uncontrollable or non-self. The profound and liberating realization of these three characteristics of all phenomena is the aim of insight meditation. And so what happens is that our awareness of reality is transformed by that realization. Satipatthana, or the word sati, is derived from the Pali word sar, which means to remember, to recollect. Sati means more than just plain memory or remembering. It means mindfulness, heedfulness, carefulness, attentive awareness, contemplation, or collected attention. In the standard English translation, the word mindfulness is used. And that, if I'm not mistaken, having read the old PTS versions of the Polytech Society versions of the suttas, it took some time for the word mindfulness to be discovered, actually. The word sati is used in Thai as sati. And so we don't need the translation. It's only in English and other languages that we need to find what this word actually means. Original words which the British colonial translators used were like mental collectedness in one of the early translations, or reflection spelled with the X. It took them a while of struggling through some cumbersome words before mindfulness, and I don't know if it was Rhys Davis or I.B. Horner who came up with that one. But I find as I speak more and more about mindfulness and as I practice it, The word contemplation seems to resonate for me. It's just like thinking about again and again. In Thai they talk about it laluk chap, nanukting, lalukting, which means thinking about, thinking about, thinking about. It's like you're pulling your attention back. And so for the purpose of walking and sitting, contemplation comes up. For the purpose of carefully paying attention, heedfulness seems to come up. So there's different aspects of this. Mindfulness is not an alien mind state. It is something that we all have as human beings. It's part of our divine inheritance as human beings. It's called a beautiful cetasika, or sopana cetasik. It's a beautiful mental component, which I believe I discuss a little bit later. It's a mind state it's a mental component which can arise with other positive mind spheres and activate or magnify their beautiful and more positive aspect. That is also has the function to dispel the negative qualities. So we will use mindfulness for just general discussion, and so you can remember that mindfulness in general in the Dharma realm means sati, or sati equals mindfulness. It's something to remember. Patan comes from the Pali word upatan, which means placing near, supporting, establishing, base, application, foundation, or setting up. And so when they talk about satipatan, it means a place where you can put your mindfulness, or a support, or a base, or an application, or a place where it can be cultivated in a way that moves towards what might be called perfect mindfulness. The word satipatan means mindfulness support or base of mindfulness. We hear the word satipatan translated as mindfulness foundation or mindfulness application. Sometimes we hear it as establishment of mindfulness. I use mindfulness foundation because it's just easier to say for me in English, and it seems to do the job. Vipassana is based on or arises from the application of the four foundations of mindfulness, the four satipatthana. And the Vipassana is seen originally in the key, sati as the key, or mindfulness as the key to Vipassana, is seen in various places in the Tripitaka, or the three Pali canon, the scriptural version. You can find in the Majjhima Nikaya, discourse number 10, or in the Mahasatipatthana Sutta, the long sutta, or the great discourse on the four foundations in the Digha Nikaya, discourse number 22. It also appears in some of the smaller Satipatthana suttas, I believe in Ankuttara Nikaya, and there were some, I think, in the Sanyutta Nikaya. I have to reread all of those again. And again, we could remind ourselves that there is this one way to the purification of beings, to overcome sorrow and sadness, to the waning or freedom of pain, from pain and suffering, to attain the right path and to realize Nibbana. And this was said by the Buddha, and it's his introduction statement about these. According to the Atthakatha, which means commentaries which were given by Buddhaghosa, the great master who authored what is called the Visuddhimagga. It is said that the Buddha was traveling through the land of the Kurus, or Kururat, where a tribe of people living in the village town of Kurus called Kamatsatama, near modern-day New Delhi. You can go to a suburb of New Delhi called Indrapastra or Indapat and see an Ashoka pillar which has been erected in a Muslim fort for some reason. And we believe that may be nearby where the Buddha gave this discourse. The Lord Buddha took the opportunity to give a very lengthy discourse on the four foundations of mindfulness there. They say that the Kuru people were very healthy, vibrant people who were descended. They were full of wisdom, and their sense faculties were quite healthy. Their minds were well disposed to deep contemplation. Thus, the entire village practiced mindfulness as a matter of course in their daily activities, from the rulers to the servants, whether they were plowing the fields, pounding